guys, welcome back to Chapter and Ash. I am Ash. I am thrilled to have you here because today we're going to talk about the big five of classic sci-fi literature, right? So whether you're an avid science fiction reader and fan already, maybe you haven't checked off all the big five off of your list, or maybe you're new to the genre and you want to start with the staples, the foundation, literally and figuratively in this list, the foundation that really everything kind of grew from in different kind of subgenres within science fiction. We're going to talk about those five novels today. I do want to give a little disclaimer. Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury and 1984 as well. I would definitely put this on my own Mount Rushmore of sci-fi, but it turns out you sci-fi wonks out there, you don't consider those novels science fiction. I learned that through my research, right? So I'm not including them, but I wanted to give them at least a shout out to those like me who did not understand or weren't aware this was dystopian fiction, not science fiction. And to the credit of both of those authors as well, they both on the record, I guess, said that they don't consider their works science fiction. Anyway, I wanted to say that before I saw all the comments about Fahrenheit 451 and 1984. Let's jump into the actual top five, big five classics of science fiction. Coming in at number 5 is Neuromancer by William Gibson, written in 1984. Yours truly was only 2 years old, running around reading Neuromancer. Now, this one really created the cyberpunk genre. I don't consider myself a cyberpunk fan personally. Don't hate me in the comments, but it's never been my jam. But this book is I actually really enjoyed it. Probably least of the top 5 here, but I still enjoyed it nonetheless. And it won the Triple Crown of science fiction. That's the Hugo, a Nebula, and a Philip K. Dick Award. So that's got to mean something, right? And again, it created cyberpunk genre in fiction. Case is the protagonist in this book. He's a washed-up hacker in this futuristic society, right? In this criminal underworld. And it always starts with one last job, right? That's the beginning of so many good movies and books. And that's the case here too, involving cyber warfare and virtual reality heists, right? And looking into a conspiracy between two artificial intelligences. So you can kind of see why this reads very modern, even, 40 years after it was written. So as Kay starts to navigate these cities, these digital landscapes, basically, and deadly mercenaries, kind of teaming with deadly mercenaries at the same time, he becomes, without giving any spoilers, kind of a pawn in this larger struggle of these AIs trying to get their own autonomy and evolution as well. So again, really feels like this is a documentary about modern day in a lot of ways, right? But it's really cool. It's written, the prose is kind of moody. It's fragmented. It's, I don't know, it has a lot of sensory overload, kind of hallucinogenic at times, right, as well, which can be a pro and a con, just depending if that's your style or not. I didn't love the prose, but that's probably what I didn't love about the book, but I did enjoy the plot itself, as well as the characters. The crazy thing is Gibson, the author, had never even used a computer before writing this book, and it's about a hacker and about computers in everything digital, which is absolutely wild. But this inspired The Matrix and so many other modern video games, as well as movies and other franchises. That is Neuromancer at number 5. Coming in at number 4 is The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin, written in 1969. Now, I'm a fan of The Dispossessed by Ursula Le Guin. I would have loved to see that one here. But Left Hand of Darkness, I feel like more people overall talk about this novel, and for very good reason. It's very good. Le Guin has a knack for writing about hot button topics, especially even today, similar with William Gibson and AI. It feels like a lot of her books seem even more relevant, right, in modernity than they were, way back in 69. So anyway, this one's about gender, but a lot more than that too. And it never feels like Le Guin is trying to, hit you over the head with any ideology or ethos or anything like that. It's very subtle and philosophical and neutral in her approach. At least that's how I feel reading her novels. Anyway, this one is about an envoy, Genly, basically traveling to this frozen planet, Gethin, to bring its nations into this planetary alliance, right? And the inhabitants of this planet are gender fluid, like, physiologically gender fluid, living as male or female only for short periods of time. So the assumptions that the protagonist makes lead to all these kind of, a little bit of humorous misunderstandings, but also dangerous misunderstandings that lead to basically political betrayal. And it forces him into this desperate journey across this icy wilderness with this basically disgraced statesman who's his only ally, okay? The trek becomes this, I don't want to say metaphor, but really this study in trust, in cultivating that trust, identity, right, which permeates through the entire novel itself, and also on a deep philosophical level, I guess the meaning of humanity, the meaning of life in a certain extent. So it gets really deep, it gets really philosophical, but it's written, its prose it's quiet, it's introspective, it's a character-driven journey. So all that and more. It's hugely, hugely influential. It's cited numerous times. It won a Hugo and a Nebula. She used the Taoist philosophy, Le Guin, that is, as her structure and inspiration for the foundation of this book. That's The Left Hand of Darkness, coming in at number 4 on our Big 5 sci-fi list. Coming in number 3 is The Moon is a Harsh Mistress by Robert Heinlein, written in 1966. All right, this is a good one, man. In this book, the moon is a penal colony run by Earth, okay? Kind of reminds me of, I don't know, there's some echoes of Australia being a penal colony for Britain back in the day, right? This penal colony, there's some super self-aware AI there, right, named Mike. So he befriends a technician Manuel in this penal colony, and basically they discover this looming kind of economical collapse that they're on the cusp of in this lunar society, okay? Together with this small kind of rebellion cell that they kind of develop a network, they organized a revolution on this moon penal colony. They use physics as well as political strategy as well, and I guess really kind of like guerrilla tactics, right? To try to, to feed, this rebellion and this uprising in this, this penal colony. The story has a lot of hardcore science in it, but it's not a difficult read though. It's conversational in prose. It's witty. It does get technical though. But I think the storytelling here carries it enough that I don't think people who are turned off by a little bit of technical writing in their novels will dislike this novel. It's beloved though for its blend of philosophy, engineering, and just the revolution vibe that really permeates the entire novel itself. It's also one of the first great uses in history of AI as a main character, as sort of a protagonist in this book, which for 1966 is pretty insane, right? This a lot of people say this is the defining novel about both politics and technology in sci-fi. And again, considering it was written well over 50 years ago, 60 years ago almost, it says a lot for it. It doesn't read like a book that is that old. It reads like a book that was written maybe a decade ago, if not today. And that is The Moon is a Harsh Mistress by Robert Heinlein. Coming number 2 is Foundation by Isaac Asimov, written in 1951. Damn. 74 years ago, but still holds up, part of a famous trilogy. This is, it won the Hugo for Best All-Time Series, a Hugo Award. It also influenced Star Wars. It really is the quintessential space opera, but it's done in a very, very fun and fast-moving way. It's clean. It's a clean read. And the ideas, though, do shine. The ideas and the plot over the characters, I would say, in Foundation. The Galactic Empire is collapsing, right? So a mathematician who's the protagonist, that's Harry, he predicts 30,000 years of chaos unless humanity follows a very strategic plan guided by psychohistory, okay?
Many years from now, if humanity is to climb from the ashes, the coming generations will need the knowledge to build upon, a foundation.
So psychohistory, what is that, you say? Well, it's basically a science that forecasts the behavior of entire civilizations. I'm thinking like the Great Filter and the Fermi Paradox here. He establishes the foundation, right? And that's a colony of scientists who live at the galaxy's edge, okay? And their goal is to preserve human knowledge and steer the future, right? Given, this forecast. Across centuries, the foundation faces all kinds of crises involving religion and politics and economics and powerful warlords who emerge and come and go. And really, it tests the limits of Selden's predictions, the protagonist, the mathematician, right? So it's very, very interesting book. That is the plot without giving anything away. And again, it is a trilogy, so you can read on if you enjoy it. Like I said, I think I said it all at the top, right? It inspired Star Wars, the blueprint for modern space opera or political sci-fi as well. It has a little bit of both there, a lot of both, I guess. It introduced macro history and long form storytelling. There's really a macro vibe to this, given, the plot that I just described. It is revered, honestly, as a top 5 classic sci-fi in every single poll I could find online. So yeah, there's no doubt about it. The Foundation comes in at number 2. So before we move on to number 1, guys, I do want to give 2 personal honorable mentions that are not in the considered big 5 on all the aggregated data, but they're in my big 5, and that is The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. This is the definitive comedy sci-fi novel, so if you're into a little bit of comedy along the way, just a really fast, witty, chaotic ride, check out The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, as well as Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card, written in 1985. This is one of the most gripping and emotional sci-fi books ever, and has really a legendary twist. And it's used by NASA today in leadership discussions as well. So that's Ender's Game and Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy as my 2, honorable mentions. So what does that leave for number 1? Number 1 is, of course, Dune by Frank Herbert, written in 1965. So, for those of you who don't know, who haven't seen the movies, Dune is a long read, but it's worth it. It's a commitment to Dune, to read Dune and to enjoy Dune. You need to focus, like any good book, right? But I feel like in today's day and age, with digital distractions and life and chaos, it's important to give those disclaimers. But if you can commit to Dune, I promise you will not regret it, right? That's the most important thing to know, especially before getting into such an epic novel. I think it's the most influential sci-fi book ever written. It's the definitive political, and I guess a lot more, but it's the definitive world building, I will say, sci-fi novel of all time. It's basically ranked number 1 in almost every reader poll that I could find. And it was amazing. This was actually rejected by over 20 publishers. Isn't that crazy? It was inspired by Herbert's research into the Oregon sand dunes. A lot of people don't know that. It won a Hugo, it won a Nebula, and hey, shame on those publishers that passed this one on, right? It is dense, it is philosophical, it is driven by, a lot of internal monologue in terms of the prose. It has many multi-layered themes to the book as well, but it is worth it. Again, that's the big takeaway. So it's set in this distant feudal galaxy, okay, where House Atreides is handed control of Arrakis, the only planet left that produces spice, the most valuable substance in existence. So amid this political sabotage and betrayal, young Paul flees into the desert and joins the Freemen, okay? This is a warrior culture. It's hard not to think of the movie when I'm going over the plot here, but they're shaped by scarcity, by prophecy, right? And most importantly, the Freemen are shaped by survival, okay? So as Paul's abilities start to grow, he's forced to confront his destiny, which is this Messiah figure. But this Messiah figure could either save or destroy humanity, okay? And that is the crux of, the whole thesis of this book, in my opinion, is that decision that Paul encounters, in his evolution as a protagonist. Really freaking good. It's a sweeping epic of power, of environment, of religion, and most importantly, of fate. That is Dune. It's worth your time. So there it is, guys. Those are our top 5, our big 5 sci-fi books of all time. That's Dune, Foundation, The Moon is a Harsh Mistress, The Left Hand of Darkness, and Neuromancer, with my honorable mentions, A Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and Ender's Game. Guys, thanks so much for watching. Let me know if you've read any of these novels. Let me know if you plan on embarking and reading all 5 or 7, including the honorables, in the comments below. And feel free to weigh in as well if you have a hot opinion on 1984 and on Fahrenheit 451. Are they sci-fi or are they not? Much love, guys. Thank you for watching, and as always, take care.